OKR, a great result against a Wire team that were favourites to win. Wire made too many errors and looked out of sorts. It's always your year. It's always your year. Just like the last one. It's always your year. Great to see Wire's season coming to an end. Of course the Widnes fan says that.
White Pie says, someone WhatsApp George and ask him how that going to Wire to win things is going, will you? Well done to the Robins, and the apocalypse is averted for another year, as surprisingly it wasn't their year. Hashtag since 1955. Hashtag have you ever seen the Wire win the league?
Barney at Baton Hall Blue said, well, it wasn't Warrington's year after all.
Mark Butler said, funny old game. I think we all had Hull KR down, as happy to be there, tap and pass. Kevin Keegan's Newcastle, but ultimately doomed. But they've been the only team in this round of playoffs to not be absolutely inept in possession. Unusual that this mattered more than defence at this stage, but nice to see, especially the outrageous Lewis try, which would have probably got him horsewhipped if it hadn't worked out.
I don't think Tony Smith's like that, though.
No.
David Hunter said, well, that happened. That is the most Parramatta finals performance ever. Felt like an out-of-club experience. Well done to OKR. At the start of the year, did anyone think that they would be in a semi-final this year? Also, this final system stinks. I tell you what, our own Tim G thought that they were going to get relegated this year.
Yeah.
And everyone else of us had them in 11th.
Yeah.
So they've made fools out of a lot of us.
Yep. At Mike Dodd 22 said, I'm at a wedding on grand final day. Why did I ever think that was going to be a problem?
Good stuff, Mike. Neil Olmston said, another great prediction. A 3-4 score win, I said. Smiley face. Wire don't deserve comment. The focus should all be on Rovers. A brilliant team performance. And so pleased for Tony Smith. A fantastic coach who encourages his players to play great rugby league. Hashtag promote the panache.
Cutthroat Jake said, maybe next year.
EFC 78JU said, that was our worst performance ever at home, and we have not won an elimination match since it's been introduced. The closest we got was when Williams was near the line on the half-time hooter. I'm glad EFC mentioned that because I was going to. We could have had quite a few tries if it didn't slip away for a knock-on in the try-line area. Hull absolutely dominated us, as well as having a dirty player on their team in... I don't know what that's meant to say. On to next season. Do not jinx our year. I think you've done it yourself there, mate.
Yeah. Tom Andrews said, working a 12-hour night shift, so only got to see 75% of the game on my phone. Such a memorable win, a team of pure grafters outplaying the big money stars of Wire. 117 were all excellent, yes, even Will Mayer. And that Lewis try was out of this world. What Smith has done to this club is incredible, even if we go out next week. Can't go to France next week, but I'll be at Craven Street cheering them on. P.S. Gaz Widdop wears Jordan Abdull pyjamas to bed and sleeps under a Mikey Lewis poster.
That's pretty good. Lee Whitnell said, I have left myself time to reflect after that disappointment of Friday so that I could come up with a measured view. However, I needn't have bothered, as I still think it was a spineless tits for hands wank show. Oh, tits for hands wank show. I can't make that the episode title, but that's amazing. Lee goes on to say, at least in previous seasons they've had the good grace to limp into the playoffs, so there hasn't been much hope. Fucking shite.
At Mike Webb 58 said, I needed something to cheer me up after the cricket in the afternoon. Didn't expect it to be this, but brilliant performance from HKR. Enjoyed hearing JJB realise he'd wasted a week analysing Sam Cassiano and now had to start on Alex Walmsley.
Paul Mac 78 as well got a late line, and he said, in Australia, us rugby league fans call Aussie rules 100 minutes of knock-ons. This game had more than the AFL Grand Final. Scrappy game. Well done to Hull KR, and surely Catalans put them to the sword Thursday. Tony Smith, surely head coach of the year. I mean, it's got to be in the reckonings, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be up there with the contenders, I think, in the same way that, Watson, when he was at Salford, was.
Certainly, anyone else's team who's up there, we were expecting. Maybe the Dragons finishing top we weren't quite expecting, but we were expecting them to be around the playoffs with the squad they'd assembled. The first the top 17 they'd assembled, we were not expecting this side to be 1 week away from Old Trafford, potentially going to be at Old Trafford. You never know.
No. Yeah.
What did you make of it? They were the team of the week, weren't they, in Super League?
Yeah. They didn't have a lot of competition, to be fair, but yeah. I mean, it was a funny game because there was a drama to it, was there? Like, apart from that one bit, just literally on the half-time hooter, didn't really think that there was any contest in the game. I mean, Warrington early on had a bit of pressure, but didn't manage to do anything with it, and then didn't really ever look like scoring.
No, that's right. I think Warrington did start the better of the two sides, but couldn't execute the final pass. And then Jordan Abdull took over the game, didn't he? And he was, I think, the player of the match for me.
Yeah, definitely. He's such a good player. And I just think, once he took control and then, Mikey Lewis did his thing as well, I don't really feel that the result was particularly in doubt.
Yeah, I mean, highlight of the week, I'm going early on it. It was obviously Lewis's try because there was fuck all of the highlights, to be honest, this week. But yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff from him. They sort of dissected it, didn't they, in the post-game on Sky and called it absolutely as it was, He jumped in there, he saw something. There's arguably a forward pass in the sort of play that set up the position for him to do that, but what he did then after that was absolutely fantastic. Although Abdull was player of the match, I think they all did their jobs in that Robin side in this game. I can't think of a poor performer. I mean, Albert Vete we could talk about, couldn't we, because of his sin binning and stuff.
I felt like he was trying to get himself sin binned.
Yeah, for sure. And there was the one, I mean, the late challenge that he got sin binned for, one of the softer late challenges we've seen punished this year, but he probably could have gone for one or two challenges before that anyway, couldn't he? Like you say, he was on a mission there with that.
Yeah, it was like, was it Tony Clubb the other week who seemed hell-bent on getting himself sin-binned? It felt a bit like that with Better this week, but I thought...
yeah, it's like James Bentley's return to the season, weren't it?
Yeah. Mustafa?
Yes.
Sorry, I could just about picture his name and I couldn't quite think what it was. I thought that was the best game I've seen him have, because I know he's been talked up, but I've always thought he hasn't delivered on what people have talked about him being able to deliver on.
No, it's the best game I've seen him have since like a Leeds Academy game 4 years ago. Yeah,
he came on and actually, I'd say it was better than Vete. I'm not a massive fan of Vete. I don't particularly think he's done what I felt he was billed to do, but I actually thought, Mustafa was, if you didn't know, you'd think he was the more experienced player.
Yeah, I think Mustafa and Staunton kind of covered up for some of the stuff that Vete did during that period in a way. That they were very good. The two younger middles that were out there.
Yeah.
A word for Warrington. Were they watching the game? I never thought they were going to score because I'd seen how much they were dropping the ball and stuff. But were they actually? They were still probably better than Leeds and Wigan were, apart from all of the errors. And this, I know it sounds like a Richard Marshall thing to say, but if it wasn't for all of the errors, but do you get what I mean? Because they did have a bit of off the cuff play. There was most of it ended with a combination of George Williams knocking on under pressure on the last tackle near the line, but the Robins scramble defence being fantastic to force those situations where Warrington were kind of just clinging on to the idea of scoring a try rather than actually gonna score a try. But they
was it that the defence was so good, or was it that because both teams were fairly poor with ball in hand in terms of ball retention and everything else, I think. But yeah, I
agree. The Rovers made 16 errors.
Like the completion was it under 60 for both teams or something?
Oh God, it will have been under 50 for Warrington. It might have been under 40.
Yes. I mean, that,
how many possessions do you normally get in a game? Teams normally get around about 35 to 40 sets in a game, I think, and Warrington have made 20 errors. So within that will be some errors at the start of sets, so not counted in a full set. Some within that as well will be some 6 agains because they get counted as errors on the stats for some reason on Super League website. But actually the 6 again count was only 2-1. So so half of they're at 50% absolute best, and it was really bad for that caliber of player as well to be dishing up that sort of thing. But as the second half went on, you just sort of felt like Warrington were gonna drop the ball every time they had an attack building, whereas Rovers might actually score every time they're having an attack building.
Yeah, and you felt like Warrington believed that they were going to drop the ball every time they had the ball as well.
Yes. Yeah. They were still trying, but they felt it was as inevitable as we all felt it was.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Right. Let's. Can we just have a quick word about the crowds? I don't like blaming ticket pricing and that sort of stuff for this sort of thing. But when you've got maybe only one home game before the grand final, and you're hoping your team get to the grand final, but the grand final is going to cost you at least 30 quid a ticket, you're going to want to be taking a bunch of people to the grand final. Is £20 for season ticket holders and £25 for everyone else really the right strategy to be pricing these games at, when we want to have, one of the things that Sky are beating us with to say why the deal can be lower is it doesn't look good on the TV having small crowds, which is what we're having. Now, whatever, part of that's contributed to by them, but it seems like Super League have got the wrong pricing strategy for these playoff games for me.
Yeah, and I think, let's actually reward the fans. And okay, you can say, oh, well, there's a £5 off for season ticket holders, but people have been through a heck of a lot this year. And, we've given tickets to NHS workers. Well, that's great, but they're not the only people that have, lived through the last 12 months and maybe gone without, well, no, they haven't gone without income, but, people have gone without income yet carried on their paying for their passes, not asked for their money back from the club despite not getting any games and things like that. And I just feel, let's actually reward those people.
Yeah, and, clubs have done bits, haven't they? Both our clubs gave you the opportunity to bring a friend for free. We've had, fan jerseys that various clubs have done in different various ways or what have you. My club gave them to us for free. There's been bits and pieces. There has been.
Certainly, I mean, I know it's irrelevant to me, really, because, the ticket pricing's irrelevant. But a lot of things Hull promised that they would do for people who retain membership, they haven't fulfilled, they haven't carried out. And I don't know whether that's the case at any other clubs.
Right. I think Wigan have done everything they said they'd done, but some of it's not been delivered in quite the way. But maybe an element of that has been, we know the Super League clubs had this fucking belief that COVID would be over by March, and and it hasn't been. So maybe some of it's been influenced